Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Fan Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 9th and 10th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish, they're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many, many independent comic book makers. Head on over to kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kelber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday night as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Hello, and good evening, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Wednesday Wham with the Silverline crew. We are back. Woo! Yeah, December delights tonight. We are going to be talking about what we have learned in the past year as we look behind the panels as to what we've been doing. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting evening. So, to kind of kick off the show, because we're talking behind the panels, I'm going to do a little sketch. It's probably terrible, but hey, we'll just do it here anyways. So just before the show, I slapped this little thing together, and it's two of our characters from our Silverline books, Cat and Mouse. And Cat says to Mouse, "Mouse, is it me, or does it seem like there's something behind it all?" And they're kind of being pulled around. And then Mouse says, "There's something, and it won't let me go."
That's good.
And behind the panel, hey, you're not supposed to know this bit.
Nice.
So there's our little visual joke for the evening. Hopefully that brings a smile to someone's face. I thought it was clever, but maybe not. Oh well.
Hey, Pop, right there.
Hey, Pops. All right, so who do we have with us tonight? Unfortunately, our Empress of Inks, Barb Kalberg, is not able to join us tonight, so we do apologize.
She says she's in the boonies.
She's in the boonies, somewhere in the wilds of, is it Minnesota or somewhere else? Iowa, in the wilds of Iowa, so she's somewhere over there.
Dad, I think, is who she's going to visit. I don't know. She didn't say.
Yeah,
but that's usually who she's going to see when she goes to Iowa.
That sounds
the
about
wilds of Iowa.
Yeah. But in the wilds of the Midwest, or a little bit further to the west, is that guy there, right?
There you go, yeah.
Kasisi, and Kasisi, tell us who you are and what you do.
I am a writer here at Silverline, and an editor, one of the editors for Divinity, which is Barb's book. Really good book. But I've been an issue of, or at least a short story of Trump's in the Silverline Christmas edition that's out there, and then working on, well, at least we're about to finish Silverline Team Up, the new volume with Tempest and Miss Fury, a new character. Yeah, so that's me. And another project, hopefully in the works in the future, that I won't talk about, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Aha.
And down below us, we have the venerable penciler and inker, Rob Davis, and sometimes writer and publisher.
I mean, writing is not my forte, but I've been known to attempt it.
What else have you done, Rob? Bus driver, golf caddy.
No, it wasn't a golf caddy. That would have been a pretty good job. I don't think I've mentioned this before. I was a bellman for 5 or 6 years. Yeah, at a resort on Lake of the Ozarks, and that developed into driving limousine, which got me this commercial driver's license. Which, down the river flows around the difficult parts. So life is like that. Life is like a river. When it hits a rock, it tries to go over, around, or under. So that's the way life is. So the path of least resistance. So I got my commercial driver's license driving for the resort, and that eventually got me driving a bus, which got me essentially a pensioned career. And now I'm living off that pension and doing what I really want to do, which is draw comic books. So that brings us to today.
Bada bing, bada boom. Awesome. And I am Martin Martonen, and I am the colorist of this wonderful book called Wolf Hunter. And I colored that one. I colored that one. I did not color this one, but hey, if you want 3 different versions of the book, you can get 3 different versions of the book. One of them is even a flip book, which has 2 stories.
Yeah, and I have to mention we do have a funding, GoFundMe, or as it's called, Fund My Comic right
Fund
now.
My Comic, yes.
Fund My Comic for Beyond the Stars, my pal Ron Fortier and his artist Andre, I'll mispronounce his name, Ormanis, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. But they've got a book, and it's under $200 away from its goal. So,
oh wow!
Yeah, so get it if you're interested in that book, and if you're even if you haven't seen anything from it before, you can also get the first 3 issues. This is issue 4 of it. Go over to after we're done here tonight, or if you've got a split screen on your computer, do it while you're watching us. But go on over there and check it out, and there's some add-ons. You can buy any of the back issues of any of the books from Silverline. There's all kinds of stuff over there. Hop over there when you get a chance and take a look and see what's going on. We're that close to our goal. Help us out and get us all the way past. And yeah, whoever posted that's the link to the Fund My Comic.
Yeah. BTS 1 through 4. Really easy. BTS 1 through 4.
Yeah, so it's Beyond the Stars 1 to 3 and Bea 1 to 2. Is it 1 to 4?
Yep.
Somebody might have to add an extra number there, but yes. Then Bea is an absolutely wonderful backup story. So
issue 3 right there.
It's own standalone. So yeah,
it's a 6-issue miniseries if I remember right. But from what Ron says, the rollicking action starts now. Just keeps going through the next 2 issues. So hey, jump on board.
Yeah, absolutely. So Silverline is pumping our books out, and you might want to check the previews as well, and your local comic shop. And if you don't see Silverline books at your local comic shop, you go to the guy at the counter and say, "Where's my Silverline?"
Book in previews right now. Twilight Grim number 3 is up there at previews. So go to your local comic shop and order it, or go to your favorite online comic shop and order it. I'm just telling you that all these great things to go buy, folks. You're going to use up all your after Christmas money.
That's right.
Yeah, if you get all that money you get for your Christmas cards, hey, and your stocking, head over to your comic shop.
Yep. So so I think maybe I'm gonna rip out I'll rip out a Twilight Grim pencil pin up for you there, Rob, eventually, and I'll probably pop something over to you too, Cassisi, eventually. So
nice.
One of your characters has struck a nerve with me, and I've been trying to do something with him for a while. I keep doodling him. We'll see. Yeah, or so. Yeah, and then to make it even more fun, I learned about this. So we're supposed to talk about what we learned this past year. So what goes on behind the comics? Well, I learned that you can technically make your comic into something called a non-fungible token.
Wow. Okay.
So that might be an interesting idea.
Well, I'm not much a believer in NFTs myself, but I mean, if somebody wants to pay me to do that, you know.
Well, see, the component, the part that bugs me about it is if you just get the image, even though you technically own the data or whatever it is that's associated with the image, if it doesn't do anything, what's the point, right? Like, who's going to want to buy that off of you, right?
And does it have any intrinsic value at
right,
all?
Right.
You know, I don't think it does. Now, original art, that's different.
Yeah. So where the intrinsic value can come into play on an NFT is if somebody just takes it to the next step. And the next step is that they actually end up applying some sort of mechanism to the NFT that then adds an added value to you as the user. So if you can program it to, say, spit out a variation of the image every single day, or maybe it can give you a voucher for a new comic, or maybe it can do, like, so if there's something built into the thing that then gives you added value, then there's something there, right?
I didn't even know you could do that with them.
No, yeah. Well,
that's an interesting concept if that's possible. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's,
so
that's something I hadn't thought of about those. There could be some value to it. Sure.
Exactly, but you have to take the time to actually go and program it and figure out what is the mechanism and how we're.
As with anything else, there has to be some effort put in order for it to be valuable.
Yep.
So someone with money has to want it.
Yep.
It's like comic books. They're only worth what someone will pay for them.
Exactly.
And you have to find the person who's willing, able, and interested in paying for it. So, yeah.
So there is a company that made a comic as an NFT, and they took it an extra step, and they actually have it partially animated.
Oh, yeah.
So as you flip through the pages have animation in them. Not full animation, just kind of like stuff moves on the page, and like. I thought it was okay that they're taking it to another level, which is kind of neat. They're trying to sell them for $200, but I'm like, I don't think so.
And there was actually back in the 80s on the early Macs, somebody was actually making animated comics with his Macintosh. He'd set up at the Chicago Comic-Con, was demonstrating it. I'm forgetting the name. It was from First Comics, which is a Chicago company, and I cannot remember the name of it. Somebody might think of it that's watching tonight, but he came up with it and was demonstrating it, and it was only in black and white because those were early Macs, and they were only monochrome, so it was either green with black or white with black on the screen, and the screen was only like this big, but he had animated some of his comics, so.
Yep,
that's been around for a while, but that's an interesting concept. Yeah.
Yeah. And we see you. We're doing okay tonight. Just nerding out a little, talking about it.
Yeah. Hey, Geekman.
I'm the old man here. I got to bring up comics history whenever I can.
Yeah.
Showing that there's still stuff stuck in there. Got to get it out.
Right.
So the chat tonight. Anything you guys want to talk about on the level of building comics and what goes on behind the panels? If you guys have some insights or thoughts or questions about what's going on, hey, David Rios, throw on a question or throw on a comment. We will probably bring it up tonight and discuss it to the nth degree. So yeah. So speaking of behind the panels and the things that we need to do in order to get something done, we usually need to start with at least an idea, right, Kasisi?
That's right.
And so,
May not be a good one, but you start with something.
Yeah. So okay, now
you try and make it good. You know.
That's right. That goes into what I learned. But go ahead.
Now, before you joined Silverline, so we'll talk about the learning process here a little bit. So before you joined Silverline, you were trying to create some of your own comics on your own, right?
And
now, did you do any comics work for anyone else before Silverline?
No. I think Silverline was the first time I wrote for
a company.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you produce some of your own stuff.
Yes.
Before touching Silverline at all, correct?
Yeah, welcome to the 21st century.
Okay. All right. So what did you learn before Silverline, and what did you learn after Silverline?
So I think before Silverline, when you have to do in the indie world, when you have to do everything yourself, and this is probably something that's particular to a writer too, where you're not armed to necessarily create the images, right? You're not armed to do the rest of the comic book stuff. And in some ways, your skill set, even though it's vital, is not attractive, right? So when it's a lot of people,
sexy. It's not sexy.
Exactly. A lot of people want art. There has to be a story behind that art really to make the mechanism go. But a lot of people
who's going to pay for that?
Right, exactly.
At the comic convention, who's going to pay for that?
No one. And so, a big part of the learning before Silverline is understanding how to turn your idea into a physical product, right? Or even a digital product, right? How to complete it. Mm-hmm. And so that takes learning, finding an artist, learning the venues to find an artist, right? Hoping that artist will actually deliver, getting an artist that won't burn out, right? Understanding that, your idea, learning the formality before it. I'm going to skip that, right? Because I went to school, I learned how to write a script, but even doing that, trying to translate it into an artist and get them to actually like the idea and want to do the thing, you have to learn how to do that networking to figure that out.
Yeah, that's where the big companies were in the last century. That's what they did, was they were the people you networked with. They had the feelers out to get all these other creative folks. They had their finger on the printer, on the pre-press, and all this other stuff. And that all came to an editor at a company. Well, now if you're doing it yourself, right? And it usually falls on the writer, because he's the initiator of the whole thing. So
all momentum, the momentum of the project, it all kind of rests with you, and so
it does. It does.
And so learning patience. There's things you have to learn as a writer. Learning to let go of this idea that you think is art in your head, right?
Yes.
Letting an artist be an artist and express the thing the best.
You got to break your babies sometimes, or let your babies be broken.
Kill your darlings, right? And then you got to understand that the wheel is not fast when you do it by yourself, right?
Well, especially
sometimes on my Facebook,
especially if you're paying your artist after the fact.
Yeah.
Because how is that artist going to eat while he's doing the drawing? Now you can sit down and type out, it take you a few hours maybe to type out a script, a 21-page script. How long does it take the artist to draw that?
Yeah.
At most really fast, most good fast artists can maybe get 2 or 3 pages done a day. I can manage maybe 1, maybe 2, depending on what's on it. And then that's handing it off to an inker. If I have to ink it myself, it is only 1 page.
Even learning to appreciate an artist and paying an artist and understand that you're not going to, it is very seldom that you will get something for free, and you shouldn't want, you know what I mean? In your mind, you shouldn't want to.
Yeah.
They're working hard on the thing.
Not everybody's in my position where I don't need money up front. I've got my pension from when I was a bus driver. So I'm living off that. And so this is all gravy for me, and it's stuff I want to do. But I can only do so much. You know, I'd love to do one of your books, but I've already got so much in the pipeline
I know.
now that it
You're
ain't.
so
I'm
good,
sorry,
Bob. You're
it
so
ain't happening,
fucking
man.
good.
No, it ain't. It's not that I'm that good. It's just that I am a professional and I keep plugging away and get stuff done.
Yep.
No.
That's what's important and here's a lesson for you youngsters out there trying to break in. Get to the point where you can let it go. Because most artists, they'll noodle it, noodle it, keep at it. Oh, I could make this better. I could make this better. There's a point at which you say, good enough.
Yeah.
Hand it off. Go to the next one. Because
Good for
if you
writers.
don't-
Same thing for a writer. Yeah.
So
if you don't do that, it'll get stuck on your drawing board, or you'll erase a hole in the paper while you're trying
Or
to
you'll
do
never
it.
push an idea forward. That's
So-
you got to understand. You're going to make 1,000 bad ideas.
So this is where I shoot myself in the foot this year. We're gonna come back to
That's
how
why
you're
he
writing.
hobbles around all the time.
Yeah, or that and my gout. But we'll come back to how your writing thoughts changed when you come back to Silverline. But we're talking about this whole aspect of getting stuck. To the audience out there and to Roland, I apologize for taking forever to get Wolf Hunter 2 done. If I actually do the math, I think it took me a year from start to finish because I got stuck. I literally got stuck because I started it and then I was like, I don't know, is it good enough? And then I was like, and then do I like it? And then I tried something, and then I guess I didn't request the feedback, and then I was like a little bit, and then I was like, and then not only
easy to get there. Yeah.
And then not only that, life got in the way, and then some nights I was like, okay, I know I have to do the comic, but I'm just spent from my day at work. So then I'm like,
this is not your day job. You have a
day
job and a family. You got a wife and kids to pay some attention to.
So
occasionally,
yeah. So I'm gonna toss this onto the deck here, just to show everybody kind of if that's okay.
Yeah.
So this is one of the pages that took me forever, and I did, and you have to start because we're starting with behind the panels here. We have to start with pencils, right? So we get the pencils. I did not do the pencils. If I can find the pencils, that'd be great. There we go.
There it is.
So here's the wonderful pencils that were done, and nice. You can see that there's some blue line underneath there, and then the pencils are done on top of the blue line. All right, and we got. So I picked this page because this actually ended up being one of my favorite colored pages in the book. And it's also got a lot of dynamic stuff happening. And if you want to know what's really going on, you got to buy the book.
Got to get the book.
So, yeah. And then, of course, somebody has to ink it, right? So then we get the inks on top. And this is how it turned out inked.
Mm-hmm.
So this is interesting to see how the inks changed the pencils, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So...
yeah, and it always does. Yeah, even inking my own work, it changes.
Yeah,
from when it was in pencil form.
And then to get colors going, we start with something like this just to get started.
Yeah, they're called flats. Yeah,
and then we add the colors on top, and we get this nice dynamic thing going on with a lot of stuck in a lot of little texture in there and all that kind of. Whoops.
Yeah.
It really pops.
Yeah. That was the whole idea. And then if you want to see behind the scenes, this is what the colors look like without inks. And you can see how
it almost works just in colors. That's good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it kind of shows you how it all comes together once you stick the inks on top, right? And everything gets pulled. So I did this page like 5 times before I got here. So it's just
so yeah, that's you're speaking to what I said earlier, definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
That you have to let it go. And I was talking about rubbing a hole in the paper. Well, fortunately you're not going to do that with digitally, but you're still but that's part of the problem of working digitally because it's easy
Yes,
way
to make changes.
Yes. I'll just I'll put that aside
Yep.
and I'll
Yep.
start over again. You
Yep.
don't have to get a new piece of paper.
Yep.
If you just hit a button and it goes away and you do it again. And
So that is something that happens. Yeah.
That could be a trap.
So that's something that's really cool about having the tangible in front of you. It makes you commit.
Yeah.
You have to commit. Okay, I got to get this thing done,
That's
and
part of why
I don't have too many options in order to, like, I mean, I can if I'm a penciler, I can erase only so much, but there's a certain point where your paper ends up being a piece of, paper costs money.
Tissue paper. Yeah, it's tissue paper at a certain point.
So
if you erase it too much, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why you use Bristol, because Bristol can stand up to multiple erasures.
So yeah, so digital world makes your life easier in some aspects, but in other aspects, it also kind of gets you into the trap of getting, I can do so many different things. Is that the right thing to do? And then, tangible.
You start second guessing yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Right. Yep. So I had too many options, and I had so many different ways I could go to color it, and I always want to do all of them at once. Right. So yeah. All right. So,
that's something you have to learn. Yeah. Mm-hmm. To be a professional in this particular biz, you have to know it's okay. Is it good enough yet? Yeah. Okay. Next item. Yep.
So we're going to circle back to Kasisi here. So when you were so you wrote for yourself, and then you get pulled into the Silverline world.
Yep.
How did your perspective change on what you were doing, and what changed, if anything?
Yeah, and I think different writers have different mentalities towards the thing I'm going to talk about. I like to play in another person's world, right? You see this established universe, right? Your left and right limit, right? And now you have to come up with the story. So that's pretty exciting to me. How can I take the random person on page 2 of the issue that no one will expect the story to be about, and then use the Silverline world to make a good story? So I was excited to do that. And I think, as a writer, it tests you too, because now it's not whether you think it's good, right? Because you're going to have your own opinion about your stuff. Now this goes through an editor, and this is another person's property. Do they think this story is good enough? And you have to have results, right? It's not a matter of, well, I think I wrote a good story and they didn't like it. You got to produce a good story, because that's what they're expecting you to do. So it kind of sharpens you in a different way, right?
Mm-hmm. It also puts you on your A game.
It does, because you still have to be creative. You can't use the excuse, well, they're not as powerful as I would want them to be, or I want to change so-and-so to do this, or I want to kill so-and-so. No, you're in this limit, right? You better not mess with any of the storyline that comes after. You get this window, and you have to test your creative ability.
You have to. It's a rainbow of colors, and you only get to play with the yellow.
That's right. And how do you do that in a masterful way? And so that's a fun experience. Yeah.
And that's the creative mind. There's actually a certain amount of inspiration that comes from having something to overcome. It's something something that holds you here. Okay, what can I do in here that's interesting? And it makes your brain start. And once the spark is lit, then off you go.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes it'll take you off here, and you have to refocus it in the right direction. But having those constraints can make you even more creative.
And you have to trust feedback too. That's the other thing, right? Like you have to be open and trust feedback. So you present your thing that you created in that world, and now you have to be open and ready for feedback and adaptable to change, right? So as soon as it comes back with, this is all okay, but I don't like this, you need to be ready to quickly turn that, right? You can't take 15. I think maybe this is a Kasisi thing, but I pride myself on immediately trying to get out the product, especially in this world where you're aspiring, right? Like quick turnover, how do you give as good a product as possible in the shortest amount of time, so that no pipeline is waiting on you.
Yeah.
Right. And so that kind of is what I brought to Silverline, and what I'm constantly learning in Silverline. Right. Like, I'm going to turn it over. Now, once it leaves my hands, I don't control the pipeline. So I have to be patient. Right. So it's like, okay, I know and I trust that the rest of the pipeline is working as it should. And I'm just making sure that I'm doing my part best of my ability.
That's all you can do.
Yep.
You have to accept that's all you can do.
So now, when you wrote your scripts, for Silverline, how many iterations did you do?
With the Christmas Story, actually just one, just one.
So you loved it off the first bat, okay?
But with the Silverline team up, we had to do maybe one or two kind of rewrites of that. I didn't push the characters enough, didn't tell the stories enough. Right. Another thing that you kind of have to learn to manage in things like a Silverline team up is when you have more than one prominent character, how do you give them panel space? Right. Like, how do you tell those stories with those major characters in the same amount of panels that you would tell one person's story in, right? And not feel like you betrayed, one of them.
One or the other. Yeah.
Wow. So,
yeah.
Getting that right. And I still don't know that it's right. So to Rob's point, you got to at some point, let go with the best version that you can produce and let people work, right? You have to trust that it will come back if it needs to be more than that, right?
Yeah.
You don't give people garbage. So you don't just throw out the first thing, right? But you
hope that what you have done as a writer inspires the artist to bring his full creativity to it, and to add that one little extra thing, or two or three extra little things that you didn't think of.
That you don't know how to think of. That's the thing.
Because you're thinking, okay, the plot's got to do this, the character's got to do this, but the artist has got to think, okay, he's got to be the set director, he's got to be the prop master, the set director, the lighting. He's got to be the director. He's also got to be the actors.
Yes,
because he has to do all of that stuff. And if he's practiced it enough, a lot of it will come, but there will be even more if you've written the right kind of script. It'll inspire them to do something they wouldn't have thought of before, but it adds an extra dimension to the whole thing. It's the thing I call synergy, where the writer sends it to the artist, and the artist takes that and adds to it, and it's more than the sum of their two parts. A synergy happens.
All right. So we grab that script. We grab that script from over here from Cassisi. We get the script. We're gonna grab it here, and now I'm gonna throw it down to you, Mr. Rob Davis, and you Mr. Pencil Man.
So
you get that script. You get that script, and now you're going to.
There's so little hair up here. It's all the scripts bouncing off.
So what I'm because we're kind of trying to talk behind the panels and highlight things that we've learned, even though you've been a veteran in the industry for quite some time. Is there anything that you have learned in this past year that might be different than what you know from the past, or something that kind of clicked for you that didn't click before?
Something that I have to overcome is drawing the same way I always have, because the industry has moved on from what I did back in the 80s and 90s. It's different now. Now I have to bring my sensibility to it. So some of that's still going to carry over, but it's got to be different than it was. And that's what I'm in the process of learning how to do, is to bring my art into the 21st century and into the 2020s. So that's where I'm going, because and I actually had an editor back in we've talked about this here before. I had an editor that I did some stuff for Marvel on Pirates of Darkwater, and the editor I heard from a friendly source in the office said that my artwork was too quiet. Now, what does that mean? It means that I didn't do a lot of this,
Mhm.
and there's stuff flying all around all the time.
But didn't you
that
also
was,
want it to be more scratchy and kind of more like more
I
Bill
don't know.
Sienkiewicz?
I don't. Yeah, I don't know exactly what he meant. The artist who worked on it before I did that kind of work. It was it was more. There was a lot of that. We're talking about the '90s here, and when there was a lot of scratchy stuff on all the art, and I was more, less is more. I'm going to use I'm going to use the line that I need and nothing more.
But it was also based
Now,
on a cartoon, right? So
well, exactly, and it was something created by Gil Kane and Alex Toth. Did some of the character design. Those two guys did some character. I think Alex Toth did. I'm not sure, but I know Gil Kane did some of the design work for that. And when you're doing an animation, you're trying to make it as simple as possible,
Yeah.
so that the animator can has an easy time of animating it. So
Mhm.
I'm trying to imitate that same thing. Well, the artist before me ignored all that, just drew it as a regular Marvel comic book, and I can't do that. I actually asked for the model sheets. I watched the show. I made the characters look exactly like they did on the
Mhm.
show, and that I put a lot of effort into that. When I should have probably also have put a little more effort in making it more exciting at the same time. I
Mhm.
was just trying to make it look like it, and I think I started to feel I did 3 issues. By the third issue, I kind of got that kind of thing going. But
Mhm.
they canceled the book after that, and we were done. So, but yeah, but that's what I'm learning, is to bring a little more modernity to my work than has been there before. You just blew my mind. I went back to the '70s. Went back to the '70s there for a minute.
hopefully you filled up that space, because I just gone. I popped and I don't know what happened, and my screen
Yeah.
just went off. So
Well, you were on
sorry
there
about that,
twice.
folks.
You were on there
Yes.
in 2 different panels there for a second, so yeah,
So
you kind
the
of blew my mind.
Rob, in that transition, or in that, like, I wouldn't say transition, in this new phase where you're trying to bring your art right into the kind of current era, right? Be sensible to you, but at the same time evolve it. Do you find that you have a hard time trusting that?
No.
And is that because you're so experienced that when you,
Yes, that
yeah.
it comes down to, okay, I'm going to try this, and if I'm going to trust my sensibilities,
Mhm.
because I've been doing this for so long, that I'm going to trust my own sensibilities to go, okay, that didn't work for me. I'll try something. I'll try something, and if it doesn't work, then I won't add it to my repertoire.
Mhm.
But if I add something and I go, ooh, that's cool, I'm going to use that that idea again, and bring it forward. So it's kind of
So
like yeah. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so I was going to ask. So, in the Silverline books, are you getting feedback that you then reincorporate back into your work?
I really haven't gotten all that much feedback. Barb has said, well, I need a little, what are you trying to draw here? What's this
Right.
line? What does this line mean?
Mhm.
And I have to start. That got me thinking. That I'm learning that now, because I've been inking my own stuff for 20 years now, and so I didn't have to think about what the inker is going to interpret that as.
Mhm.
So I now have to be sure that line that I'm putting on there, the inker's going to understand what that means.
Mhm.
What is that? I know, because I drew it. So when I ink it myself, I can ink it properly. I know what that object is. Even it's like something hidden behind me here, and you only see a part of it. I know what that is, but the inker's not going to know what that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
if I don't
Exactly.
tell them, or if I'm not illustrating it properly enough for them to actually see it and feel it. So, and if it's something, and I'm starting to think more like that. So when I do have something like that on the page, where I go, okay, I know she's not going to be able to read this. This isn't going to register with her what it is. I put a little note in the margin saying,
Mhm.
okay, this is what this is, or I want the light to come from this direction. I do that for the colorist. I'll
Yep.
give them, and for her as well, because sometimes she'll add shading to it that I didn't put in, and that's fine. But I
Mhm.
want to know. but I want the light to be coming from a certain direction, so I'll make sure to indicate where it's coming from. So yeah, it's yeah, and I'm also learning how to communicate with inkers in the past. I didn't have direct contact with. I think the inkers I worked with, I think 2 of them out of the probably 6 or 7 that I worked with, I actually talked with and got any kind of feedback or anything like that. Now I'm getting a lot more communication with Barb, so I'm getting I'm going, oh, I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't thought about that particular issue. So
Yep.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I'm learning. Yeah.
And like you mentioned earlier, the synergy aspect, the 2 of you have a synergistic element going together with your stuff, which is really cool.
And her inking sensibility is different from mine. I'm a lot looser inker than she is. She's very precise and
she's sharp, very sharp.
Yeah, very sharp. Particular. This has got to have this line weight to it, and this has got to have this line weight to it. So she's very conscious of that, and that's her job.
Yep.
Mine is to lay it out there so that she can do all that, and that it portrays what we're trying to do. So I'm learning how to work with her at this point after all these years of doing my own inking. So, yep.
Yeah. All right. So then you pencil and ink your stuff. She inks it.
So it comes to me as a script.
Yep.
I print them out. Not everybody, it comes to me digitally.
You got to write and doodle and sketch on it.
I'll doodle things on here, and then I'll take that and turn it into thumbnails, which we've seen here before. My thumbnails like this. I have these pages printed out with these little squares on them, and you can see they're only, a couple of inches.
Has your thumbnailing process changed over time?
When I first started working in comics, I would use each page was a full page like this. But I went to a convention and I saw Steve Rude's thumbnails. He would put a whole 21-page comic book on an 8.5 by 11 sheet, and the thumbnails were half the size of the ones I've got here.
Wow!
How do you even get that much? How do you get any information on there?
Well, what it makes you do,
it really makes you focus.
It makes you focus on the black areas.
Yep.
And what carries you across the page. So each page was only, the thumbnail was truly thumbnail size. I mean, that size. But everything was there. That's what's really astonishing, because I recognized what book it was from.
Oh, wow.
But he had a page on his table there. He had several pages of thumbnails sitting there, and a whole book in ink, not just in pencil either. They were inked. He'd done those with a pen.
Oh man!
Yeah, it was, that blew my mind, and I went, oh. But I saw the utility in that, and making you focus, and you get to thinking about the flow of the page more when you're working real small like that. So,
yeah.
But like I said, I used to do 8.5 by 11 for a whole page, and I do my thumbnails were a lot more detailed, of course, at that point. But it was almost a very loosely penciled page, and I know I know Gil Kane used to work like that. John Buscema worked like that on 8.5 by 11 sheets. But when I saw Steve Rude's, it just kind of it blew my mind and opened it at the same time. So
So then your
not
pencils,
everybody could do it that way, but I do now. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, then your pencils and inks then eventually end up coming to this guy here, or someone like me, the colorist, and we color it, and we learn all sorts of wonderful, nifty tricks. And the trick that I learned this year, if you want to save time on shading, throw a gradient on the page. That was the big trick I learned, and I was like, oh, wow, okay, so you throw a gradient from the top to the bottom of the page, and it immediately adds.
Yeah.
immediately adds dynamics to the page, and you got something to work with and play with and start with in order to get things moving.
It's
And it was
like,
like,
as a painter, when
yeah,
you get that blank canvas and what you'll do is you've got white canvas, and you take, and I learned this in painting class. You
yeah,
put a wash of a certain color, and it's
yeah,
usually either a warm color or a cool color to start your painting, and that informs everything else that you do
that's right.
because it's
Yep,
going to be underneath everything. So
yep. So now in this case, I put it on top and then change it to a color burn or a linear burn or to an overlay. Dial the tint down, way down, and then you just have just a hint of it there that's suggesting and informing it, and you can just see it.
That's
And
that
it
wash. That's
and
the
it
wash that you put on the
that little
canvas.
bit of depth to the picture, and it's like, oh, now I don't even have to add shading, but then I go and add some more shading anyway, and the highlights. But
Well,
that
I
was
would think it would speed your process up, definitely.
yes, it did,
But
absolutely, 100%.
and
So
you start learning how to do that
yeah,
creatively, and have and then here's one of the things I think about as an artist is we all make mistakes. What are called mistakes?
Mhm.
You have an accident, or you do something and you go, oh wait, that's pretty cool.
Mhm.
That's how you come up with new techniques. Is you have an accident. Take that accident, as Bob Ross used to say, have a happy little accident. Turn that into a technique that you use later on.
So and again, in the digital world, it's a lot harder to come up with an accident than it is in the real world.
Yeah.
So when you have the physical, having that little spill or that splatter or that little thing that just happens,
But
that
there
you're like,
is
oh,
occasionally you will hit the wrong button.
Yes.
When you're doing something and you go, oh, I would never have thought to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what that did. That's cool.
Yep.
So you go, you either write it down or you mark it in the back of your head and go, okay, I'm going to use that later.
Yeah, for the future.
Yeah, but that's how it works. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Accidents, happy little accidents.
All right,
happy
so
little trees, happy little trees.
Mm-hmm.
So is there any well, David Rios said congrats on your cover there, Rob, for selling it for BTS 4 selling. So just in case you missed that.
Yeah. Should we tell them who bought it?
No.
Okay, all right, we won't tell.
We won't tell who that was at all.
Oh my God.
So
yeah, and here's the cover. Yeah, it's right here. I've got it.
There we go. Look at that. Oh, let me show that off on the screen there, Rob. So that there we go.
And then I'm going to include the original sketch that I did to sell it because Roland wanted me to do a little thumbnail sketch so he'd know what I was up to because he's had several people doing covers and he didn't want us to repeat ourselves. So I said it in this and he goes, "Oh, go with it." So I did, and that's what I came up with.
There we go. Awesome.
Yep. And
very cool.
And then the colorist came in, and I indicated behind that there's a planet being consumed by this black cloudy stuff. And I wrote in, do a cosmic scene, go crazy with a cosmic scene. And he did. Mickey Clausen did it, and he did a great job with those colors, making it cosmic behind it there. So
awesome. Did you want to show off anything else on your board there, or is it secret?
No, it is not secret. I mean, our secret project is with that Barb is inking and I'm penciling is here.
Look at that.
You can just barely make out that these two young ladies are sitting here, and then boom, there we are up close up.
Nice.
So,
and the crow or the raven.
Well, there's it isn't in the script, but if you count the crows, How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Mm.
6 crows is an omen.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't in the script, but I thought I looked it up and I went, I'd like to draw a crow in there. So I looked it up, and then I'm also doing. I just finished inking a page of Boston Bombers.
Mm.
Check this out,
And
folks.
Look at
This
that
is just
clothing. Yeah.
this world. Look at this.
Look at that.
Stunning. Nice.
Well,
Look at
this is
that
a rather
material.
this particular issue does not have a lot of action in it, so I'm trying to get
Mm-hmm.
something to get the reader's attention.
And that
putting
it
stuff-
does.
That's the point. That's why I'm
Yep.
going for all this detail in the background. And then probably the next page will probably not have near that kind of detail in it. Once you set where you are, then you can kind of you don't have to put as many pieces of background in.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm gonna
tell the people where they are.
So I did a comic where people were sitting around tables and stuff. That is one of the hardest things to draw. It's so hard because you got to figure out how am I going to stick people in this space, and then I got to stick more people in here, and then
Google is
and then you got
wonderful
it's just like
thing.
that was my
Google is a wonderful
first
thing.
real comic book that I did. Heroes of Light, I think it was called.
Oh yes, I've heard of that. Yeah.
It was a one issue comic, and going back and looking at it, I can see all my like how it was like it could be way better, but it wasn't that terrible either, so it was okay. So yeah. So are there any other highlights from this year that you guys can bring up from Silverline books that popped out at you? Any special issues that were remarkable or interesting or fascinating that you think people should look into?
The biggest thrilling thing from Silverline is that we're now in previews.
Mm-hmm.
That our books are now popping up in previews. We've got enough in the pipeline now that we can actually put stuff out on a regular basis for previews to see every month.
Mm-hmm.
It's been decades since I've had something in previews, and it's a thrill for me to see it in there again. And so every comic book shop in the country has the possibility of buying my book now, which is pretty cool.
That's so cool.
Very,
it is
very cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So for me, I think with Silverline, I got to do it. I got to do it.
Are we coming up with a dad book? Yeah.
This book was just something else. Like Kalis, like this book was, I don't know. It just grabs you and takes you, and even the scenes where like nothing is happening, something is happening. It just pulls you in and sucks you and drags you through the whole. It's an awesome book. Kalis, great book, awesome book. And the other book that was really cool, that was kind of a little bit of a interesting one, was Trump's. Trump's kind of, grabbed you, and it had a very interesting.
I think
he needs to make this into a card game.
Yeah.
With his characters.
If people catch on to what we're up to, I think we can get an audience. Because Silverline is putting out some very interesting books. Roland's doing some of the best writing he's ever done. He's brought on some great people to work with him. I'm thrilled to be part of that. But I think if we can get an audience to pay attention to what we're doing, it will do nothing but grow. I don't think we will never be Marvel. We will never be DC. And
we don't want
now, we don't want to be them. For number one, we don't want to be that controlled by the corporate thing that it seems that Marvel and DC have these days. I like the freewheeling aspect of Silverline. So, but fingers crossed, we can make some headway in the comic book industry. Get some folks to see what we're doing.
So, Cassisi, what popped up for you this year?
Again, it's more of, and we're at different points, right, in our career. So in my
Mhm.
point, I think it's just working with other, for so long I've been doing my own thing, right? So having the
Mhm.
opportunity to just work and trust other people and not carry the whole thing, but just play your part. That's a whole different experience, learning experience, and a whole different even set of skills sometimes that you're kind of
Right.
exercising. And
You're
so I
exercising different
I
muscles. Yeah.
yeah, I like that. I like learning from everybody. I like the banter with everybody. Everybody I've really experienced or worked with in Silverline, they all have something to share. They all bring their own experience and flavor. And for me, I just soak that stuff up, right? Because I'm still in the sponge um,
Hmm.
point. So,
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot, period. Being able to write, period, and have that edited, and someone review it and give you feedback and know that, okay, it's accepted, right? Like we're going to make the thing. It's one thing when you make the thing, it's another thing when, a different entity says, yeah, I believe in that and I'm going to make that thing that you're a part of. So, I don't know,
Hmm.
those are all things that I am thankful for. I value. I'm learning a lot in it. So yeah.
Awesome. All right, so that's our delightful December, folks. We're coming up to the top of the hour,
Yeah, we're
and
coming up
if
close.
is
Yeah,
there any is there
we
anybody
talked our
in
way
the
through an hour, Cassisi.
We did it. We made
is
it.
there is there anybody out there in the chat that has a comment or anything that
Yeah,
it looks like
let's
there's at least one person floating around, maybe a couple. So
There's more than one. Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
but yeah,
I
it's
I think what Cassisi was talking about made me stop and think about what I enjoy about this is, I'm the old guy. I've been here for 35, 38 years. So seeing someone like Cassisi who's excited, it's at the
Mhm.
beginning, he's getting things rolling, reminds me of that time when I was trying to break it and
Mhm.
how much fun that was. And so, and fortunately for me, some of that rubs back off on me, and I'm going,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm getting excited about this again
yeah,
myself. So
yeah,
that's the nice thing about having other people to bounce off of. You're
yeah,
starting to you get
absolutely,
their energy. Your energy is different from mine. I
yeah,
mean, I'm sure some of mine is rubbing off on
Yep.
you, but you're rubbing off on me as well. So
yeah,
it's that synergy thing again.
Yep.
yeah,
And folks, don't give up. You know what I mean? This is a thing, right? Like
Yeah,
comics is still a thing, and just express your stories. It is a visual medium that is still ripe and more accessible than it has been in the past. If you have a story, just get it out there, and it doesn't have to be
yep,
a perfect story. In fact, it's probably gonna suck. The first ones you put out
Yeah,
probably
yeah. The
suck.
first,
Just put them out
yeah.
there,
oh,
I'm sad to say my first ones were pretty bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and I got you get better. You realize, okay, that sucked. Let me I got that out of my system. Let's go on
Yeah.
and do some good stuff now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And you might make another one that sucks.
Exactly, but it's the road, right?
But
And
yeah,
soon you'll have the
but after
experience.
a while, you learn what doesn't suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah, yep. That's exactly right. So it's a process of learning, and you can't learn unless you fall down first, right? And so
Yep.
you,
If
Exactly.
you're not falling down, you're not learning.
yep,
Exactly.
exactly. So
If you're not,
it's
you gotta fail to learn.
Mhm.
yeah,
It's counterintuitive, but you got to fail to learn. If you're not really learning anything if you don't make mistakes.
Mhm.
so do it hard, do it fast, learn quick,
Yep.
and
And adapt. Yeah. Get
yep,
better. Yep.
yep. Speaking of which, I wonder how that young guy Vic Dew is doing. Has anyone heard from him lately?
I have
I
not.
have not. I
Yeah.
think he's been busy with school. We
Oh,
may hear from him more now once the Christmas
yeah.
break starts. He'll be off school for like a week. Yeah, but
I think
I haven't heard anything from him for a while.
I think I'm gonna.
Like a few weeks ago, I got something from him.
Oh, did you?
He's making slow progress.
Okay.
So yeah, he's getting a little better. He's still got some of the. I keep pounding him on his anatomy
Mhm.
because
But you know what?
gotta get that
You know,
down, man.
well, you know what though? he has an interesting eye. He does
Yeah.
have a really interesting eye.
Yes, he does.
If he
it's
if he manages to figure
if he
out
makes that
how
one little leap, he's
Yeah.
got,
So
that
it,
little
but the
stylistic
thing
leap that he makes.
yeah, so I think he doesn't necessarily have to actually know anatomy so much as he
Right.
can learn the design. If he can learn how to design his thing,
Yeah, because Kirby's anatomy was just
right.
If you try and compare it to real anatomy, it ain't no way.
What?
But boy, did it tell a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Boy,
you
did
still
it tell
gotta
a story.
know the core fundamentals in the
Yeah.
sense of but there's a certain point where you leap beyond the fundamentals and make your own thing,
Well,
right?
and you're pushing on this wall.
Yeah.
You're pushing,
Yeah.
and you
So-
got to find the right spot, and eventually that one, you'll hit the right brick, and you'll pop through the wall.
And it's for me, it's clarity. Once he gets the clarity down, everything else is going to fall into place. So
and
You hear that,
I think
Vic? Keep pushing.
he's got potential. He's got, like anybody who's interested in it. And hopefully he'll keep that interest. I see a lot of people that after a certain point they lose interest.
Yeah.
They're and then it winds down. I'm hoping that doesn't happen with him because I think he's got potential. If you got to stay at it. You got to keep pounding on that wall till you find that weak spot and get through.
Yeah.
And
there's a point where something's going to click in his head and everything's going to just go
little thing. And I can't help him find it either.
Yeah.
Because it was the same way I found mine. It was just wait, there it is.
Yep.
Oh crap, that's it.
Yep.
So, but I can't help him. I can tell him keep plugging away, keep learning how to do, learn the basics, learn form. Give your characters form. Give what you're drawing some weight and some feel.
Yep.
And there's cartoony ways to do that. There's realistic ways to do that. He's just got to find that one that works for him.
Yep.
It's just that one little thing is gonna have to flip for him.
Yep.
So he'll get there. He's young. He's
Yep.
young. He's got a lot of time yet to learn all that stuff. But if we push him now, it'll come easier to him later. I'm hoping he makes that. He'll make it. He's just got to find it. He's got to find it. And
so just for the audience, out there, if you don't know, there's a young fella who's shown us some pencils, and we've been encouraging him along the way, and he's done a bang-up job getting started, and we think he has a lot of potential. So, and maybe one day he can draw a Silverline book, but that would be up to Roland. But hey, you never know, right? You got to start somewhere.
Well, and he may turn into an inker. He could become an inker. He could be a penciler. He could be a colorist.
Yeah.
It's that one little thing that's going to click for him. Oh, that's what I'm good at. Or this is that technique that I need to use. So it'll put him over to the next step on the process. So hopefully he'll make it.
All righty, folks. Well, thank you for joining us on this December evening. We've hit the top of the hour. We've talked about what we learned this year, what some of the stuff we've done this year, some of our books that we have. So Silverline has Cat and Mouse. We have Trumps. That's not Donald Trump. That is Trumps as in Beyond the Stars, which is now under my GoFundMe comic with the backup story of Bear, Teen Beetle. We've got Kalis. We've got Sniper and Rook. We've got all sorts of books. We've got
Cape
Divinity.
Town. Yep, Cape Town.
Divinity, Cape Town, and Cray if you're into sword and sorcery stuff.
Oh, yep, Silverline.
Champion and Miss Fury.
Pendulum.
Man, we've got. And there's probably a whole bunch of books that I don't even know that we have. I didn't like. What about the obsoletes?
Friar Rush.
Twilight Grim. Yep. Obsoletes. What's the cartoony book that we have? The
Tiny. There's Tiny.
Yeah, Tiny.
Tiny.
Which is a graphic novel that was out. It was in previews last month. I ordered my copy. I had
Fire.
not seen that yet. Yeah.
You didn't even
Fire
say.
Rush.
Did you even say Wolf Hunter? You said Wolf Hunter. Oh no, you didn't even say Wolf Hunter.
Oh, Wolf Hunter, yes, Wolf Hunter. And Wolf Hunter 2 is going to be coming out, I think, in the new year, January, and we're going to do a launch party on that one. And I think there's going to be a couple other books that are coming out. And we're excited to see those things get out the door and into your hands. Yep, Bear. David Rios is saying Bear. Thank you. And that is a fantastic allegory story. So great for the kids. My boys loved it. They ripped the covers off the book. I got to get another one. So Roland, if you ever put Bear into a graphic novel, I will buy it. So just throwing that out there.
I think that's the
All right.
plan on a lot of our books. Is that they'll come out in miniseries, but like every company does, that we'll collect them into a graphic novel. So yeah, cool.
Yes, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for joining us. And as we like to say here at the end of the night, make mine Silverline.
Hi, I'm Greg Horn. Make mine Silverline.